I'm feeling nervous energy. It's just there. I like to speak it into the room. In the minutes before I began, I was just sitting here and it was just with me. And part of the talk today is just about not feeling like an imposter. So I'm not going to pretend anything else. And my heart's racing. I'm really excited though. I mean, I had this crazy idea and here we are. So thank you everyone for tuning in to my pirate broadcast. Some of you are with the accelerator, and then I sent out a blast to my email, and some of you are from outside the accelerator. So you're tuning into the pirate. It's awesome. So I'm going to, let's see here. All right, I'm going to ignore the chat. I'm just going to focus on this. So I will check the chat later, but appreciate whatever chats you have to add. So a couple things before I get going. I've never done this before. I've never given a talk on this topic. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how much material I have. I don't know. I didn't know how many people were going to show up. And I'm just voicing this stuff out because I'm not going to pretend to be anything. And that's it. So having said that, it's time to start the show. Some of you might have seen me speak before, and I have a little ritual. I have a standing desk, and I like to press a button, and now I feel like Iron Man, putting on his suit, and I have my light. And something magical happens when I do this. And I can just feel everything just go away. And I can feel the power. And for many years, when I used to fake it till I make it, this version of me was the only version I would show to anybody, because I'd be backstage, I'd be hanging out, I'd be hiding, and no one would see that nervous person waiting. But today, I think it's way more interesting to show one version of me and then show this other version of me. And then it's like, yeah, now something's happening. All right, so my plan is I'm just going to share some stories from my past, autobiographical stories, and then probably open up for discussion, and then that's it. And we're just going to make it up as we go. So the title of this topic is "Fake It Till You Make It" versus "Just Be It," and I'm an expert in both. So behind me, yeah, you can kind of see it on the wall, is a mount of it's a sales award for 400,000 copies sold of a CD series I did back in the 1990s called Happy to Be Hardcore. So history exists. I was very successful as a DJ. The thing is, when I got into it, when I was 20 years old, I was importing some vinyl records from England. I started mixing this music and I started making tapes. And before I was performing as a DJ, making money or anything like that, I started sending tapes out to record labels. It was a very professionally produced tape. It was called the Frolic Files, under my DJ name, Anabolic Frolic. And inside the liner notes was a magazine article about me, like a profile. Now, the thing is, that magazine article was written by my friend for a magazine that we made up called Nemesis Magazine. And I sent this out to record labels. And all of a sudden, weeks later, I get a phone call from the president of Moonshine Music in Los Angeles. And they're like, "Chris, we got your tape. We love it. We've been thinking about doing something with this kind of music. Would you be interested in compiling and mixing a CD for us?" Again, fake it till you make it. I was cool as a cucumber on that phone call. I was like, yeah, that might be something I could be interested in. So he's like, great. Send us a list of what tracks you're going to do. And we want to get moving on this. I'm going to fax you a contract today. So he faxes the contract. I fax it back. I have a signed record deal that day with the biggest electronic music distributor in the United States at that time for this new CD series called Happy to Be Hardcore. I'd never performed anywhere. I was just operating out of my bedroom. A week later, they call me and they're like, "Where's the DAT?" At the time, it was a digital tape. They just like, there was no supervision of me. There was no like input, no creative input or anything, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" And so I produced the final mix and I sent it to them, and then they ran it, and there was no creative input at all. And then that first CD, they were expecting to sell 10,000 copies. It sold 100,000 copies, and the entire series went on to sell 400,000 copies. So I've lived fake it till you make it. So I went on to have a huge career, and that's one of my fake it till you make it stories. I ended up getting banned from entering the United States working without a visa. So that's the story about why I'm banned in the United States. So it ruined my money-making opportunities because I couldn't go to where most of the money laid for me. So I was stuck in Canada. And when the rave business declined in the early 2000s, I was forced to basically realize, okay, this part of my life is coming to an end. It's time to do something new. So at the time, I had this passing interest in hypnosis, and I decided to go take a course on stage hypnosis. And I figured, it's a similar type of business. You know, I promote myself, I book gigs, and I perform. So I took a weekend class. I came home, and then I contacted a television station, City TV in Toronto, Breakfast Television, the biggest morning show in Toronto. And I told them why I would be a great guest. And they were like, "Yes, you would be a great guest. Can you come this Wednesday? Come to the studio 6 a.m. So I showed up to do a TV demo. I'd never done a hypnosis show before. I'd never hypnotized anyone before. I just showed up, and I hypnotized one of their stagehands, and we did a bit like on live television, and it went perfect. And then I got home, and there was a telephone call from a hospital that wanted to book me for a corporate event because they'd seen me on TV. So I took the footage of me on television combined with footage of me at this corporate event, and that became my new demo video. And then I had this whole other career for 5 years doing hypnosis, comedy stage hypnosis shows. I faked it till I made it until I got in. My hypnosis teacher and mentor had an idea, a software idea, and he knew I was a nerd, and he knew I liked making things. And he's like, "Chris, I have this idea. Do you think you could make something where we play a video as if it's a live webinar? So someone pre-records something and it runs as if it was live." And I was like, well, I kind of did something similar when I was a DJ. I had a radio show, and I got tired of doing it live on the internet. So I would pre-record it, but we would fake live broadcast. And I had a countdown timer, and people waited for the show, and then it would go out. Meanwhile, I'm watching Survivor because that's what I wanted to do instead of doing a live show. So I took that knowledge and converted it into what became Stealth Seminar. I started work on it December of 2010. And we launched it March 2010. So in 3 months, we went from nothing to a publicly open piece of software. I felt it wasn't going to serve the business if people knew the technical guy behind this was this past DJ and hypnotist. Like, it's just such a crazy story. How can he be the technical mind behind this piece of software? And I thought it would hurt us. And I figured if I could do it in 3 months, then what could someone do who actually knew what they were doing? This is what I thought. So I ended up creating an alias, Greg Fisher. Greg is my middle name, and Fisher Avenue is the street I grew up on. That's a game we play. So Greg Fisher ended up being the co-founder of Stealth Seminar. Our employees that we begin to hire would interact with Greg Fisher. The customers that interacted with us so I was Greg Fisher. So I was faking it till I made it, but I actually created an imposter persona. customers who needed some tech support would get on the phone with me, but because I'm not trained in tech, they were using words and language I didn't understand, and they make me feel stupid. And I realized I can't talk to these people. It's going to reveal everything. This is a huge sham. Even though people were using it successfully, in my head, it's like I'd fooled the world. I can't reveal to anybody that I don't know what I'm doing. Meanwhile, it's operating, but I don't know what I'm doing. I ended up creating a reason why I couldn't get on the phone. Greg Fisher is deaf. Can't talk on the phone. Sorry. I thought this was a great solution. It went on and on and on. The problem is, as the business grew and the money increased, I felt like Bernie Madoff. And it didn't matter that millions of people were using it, something that I created with my own hands. It didn't matter that it was making money, people were getting value from it. I just thought, man, I fooled the world. And if I can do it, someone can just knock us off. And unfortunately, that set off a very dark period of my life. There's a 5-year period from about 2012 to 2017. The business was making millions of dollars. I was making millions of dollars, and I felt like a complete fraud. And I didn't know how to get out of it. And then one day the service went down. We had an outage for 4 hours. My partner called me. He was furious. He was screaming at me. And as he screamed at me, I owned everything that he said, because it was revealing to me that I am a fake, that I don't know what I'm doing. There was nothing in me to tell him, dude, chill out. I'm doing the best I can. It was just like, so it was awful. And I ended up estranging myself from my partner. We have a successful business making millions of dollars, and I started going 6 months without talking to him. I was just avoiding him. And I was going deeper and deeper into the dark pit. Finally became untenable. 5 years of just darkness. I felt like everything could just go poof at a moment's notice. Meanwhile, I mean, from the outside looking in, I just described a successful business running for several years, a technology company that became profitable and ran for several years. I mean, what are the odds? And we were part of it. And yet I was so unhappy, and I felt like such a fake and such a fraud. I finally felt something needed to change, and I found a therapist, psychotherapist. And I went in, and I had so much guilt about how I was handling my partner, how I was handling everybody. I was hiding from the world. The imposter syndrome was so deep. I remember on that very first day with the therapist, I couldn't even get through the session. My mind was trying to just disassociate to protect me, and I just wanted to go to sleep. And I remember, and she covered me with a blanket, and she did some guided meditation, and she said, "It's going to be fine. You're in a safe space." And I had no choice but to believe her. That was one of the best days of my life, to have the courage to go in and start seeing her. The imposter syndrome was so deep and pronounced. At that time, I was trying to figure out what I could do. How could I contribute? And I remember thinking, okay, well, I know a lot about business. There's a high school business club called DECA. They do competitions. Teenagers make business proposals, and they need judges. They need adults. And I was like, okay, maybe I could do that. And I watched some videos, and I saw these high school kids in their suits, obviously on their way to future MBAs. All I knew was I was a high school dropout that was a fraud. And at that time, I didn't even feel qualified to judge a high school business competition. I was a complete fake. That's how pronounced my imposter syndrome was. That, as I tried to explore how I could make a difference in the world and do something, that brought me to coaching. I continued to see my psychotherapist twice a week, and then I did my coach training, and something began to change. I was immersed in this deep work, the analysis. And one of the best moments during my coach training was a discussion about identity versus roles you play. And at that time, I thought my identity was as a father, husband, and entrepreneur. As was explained to me, those are roles that I fill, not my identity. And I was like, well, geez, if I'm not an entrepreneur, husband, or father, what am I? And I asked myself this, and I went to bed. And I remember laying in that half asleep consciousness, and this word bubbled up out of the ether: audacious. And I was like, huh. It was really profound. And then I started to think about how that word applies retroactively throughout parts of my life. And of course, I've just been outlining some of the audacious things I've done in my life, but it goes back even further. When I was 12 years old, I walked into this computer store and I asked for a job, and they said they weren't hiring. And I said I'd work for free. And they said, okay. That audacious act when I was 12 years old changed my life. I ended up having a long career with this company. And when I was 18, as a high school dropout, I moved to be with them at their head office as they began franchising, and they'd send me around the country opening new stores. Now, as I continue to do this journey of inner work, I've developed a sense of self. I know who I am. I can communicate it just by speaking, as I am right now, speaking powerfully, sharing my story without shame. I didn't tell anyone for like 20 years I was a high school dropout. Now I lead with it. I'm proud of it. Proud of what I've accomplished as a high school dropout. It's fucking awesome. I felt like I wasn't qualified to judge this high school business competition because I didn't even own a suit. Well, now I can stand before you and say, how fucking awesome is it that I don't own a suit? I still don't own a suit. And then and I don't pretend to be anything else. I am me. And that's who I am. And I speak that. And I just show up as that. And it makes me feel good to say that. And I don't believe I can ever be an imposter again, because I refuse to let it happen. So at the beginning of this talk, I voiced that I don't know what I'm doing, that I don't know what this talk's gonna be. I've just been talking for 20 minutes straight. It just happened, it came out of me. I had a potential client contact me. He's a philanthropist, and he's like, he wanted to raise $100 million for charity. And he's like, Chris, can you help me do this? And my answer for him was, I don't know if I can help you do that. I've never done what you're asking me to do. And it felt so good to be so honest with him. And I said, all I can do is see if what I bring can help you. And if you'd like to explore that, then let's take this a step further. I want to add this to my story. So this past year, I really ratcheted up things. And I asked myself a question of what scares me. And what came up for me on that day was another question, was who do I need to be to charge $1 million for one day of their time? And it was such a simple answer. And I realized the answer is me, because there's only one of me in the entire universe. And then I just became that. And I created a menu based around $1 million for one day of my time. And when I spoke with this philanthropist again, I confidently said it. Well, it wasn't even just $1 million for a day of my time. I brought it up to $10 million for 4 weekends in inspiring places with me. And he felt it, and he wanted it. And I was just being myself. And I had a firm belief in who I was, and I wasn't trying to be anything else. And it feels real good. So that's the nutshell version of my story. And actually, I'm going to segue here to another key piece of my journey. I'm just going to have a sip of water. So I want to share a document with you that I wrote this year titled Chris's Statement of Being. I applied to be part of Rich Litvin's 4PC group, and in one of the questions on his form, he asks, what is one of the greatest accomplishments of the past 10 years for you? And I said writing this document was. This document meant so much to me, and what it represents, that I'm in such a place of this deep understanding of myself, that this is actually my greatest accomplishment. And this is why I'll never feel like an imposter again. I check in with this document whenever I need to, and I also share this document with anyone who is part of my sphere and circle. Any prospective client who is exploring working with me is going to hear this document, because I want them to understand who I am. And I'm going to share this with you now. I go by my chosen name, Chris Frolic. It's a name that means something to me. I take pride in my role with Robin and my children. It's a privilege to serve my family so powerfully. My family gives me great fulfillment. I create the life I create the life I want to live and live it. I feel gratitude every day. I share my wisdom with all who want it. I am unique and priceless, the sum total of all my experiences, things I've learned, and my mistakes. I love myself unconditionally, and I embrace and love my unconventional ways. I forgive myself unconditionally. I get pleasure from zagging when everyone else is zigging. I am enough, yet I will never stop striving to be more. People are impacted from being around me, and I honor that responsibility. I am a great communicator. I can take abstract or complicated ideas and make them accessible. I'm a natural, spontaneous storyteller. I speak with metaphors. I understand it's not about doing more, but being more. I like playing a big game. I create games where I win the moment I decide to play them. I'm a gunslinger. I can feel my blood pump when I put on that gun belt. I embrace the terror. When I'm the gunslinger, I know I'm the best. A gunslinger has to be the best, because if they're not, they're dead. When I'm the gunslinger, I'm the best at being me. When I'm having fun, magic happens. Money is a byproduct of my awesomeness. I love shining and showing my awesomeness. I live my life as a permanent vacation. My schedule is fluid and open. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. I enjoy taking naps in the afternoon and having days that don't have a single thing scheduled. I eat the words, "It can't be done," for breakfast. I embrace not knowing. It's where new things are discovered or created. I am a creator. I know what it's like to create something from nothing, the joy of doing something for the first time. I know that the world is best served by the strongest version of me. They say you can't take someone deeper than you've gone yourself. Well, I've gone pretty damn deep. I've been immersed in this process for years. This is my work. I seek to create feelings in myself and I can create them in others. I know how to create experiences. I can execute a fully realized version from a thought in my mind. I take action on my thoughts decisively and without hesitation. I feel pride from self-validation. Being true to myself drives me to take action, and anything past that is a cherry on top. I conduct energy. I fight for humanity. I am a changing state of matter in the universe, and I know my consciousness is temporary and will cease one day. And that's it. That's me. And that's why I'll never be imposter again. Thank you, everybody. Feels good. I'm going to open the floor to anybody who'd like to share their thoughts.
I'm just going to jump right in, Chris.
Thank you, Kanchan. Yeah.
Loved it. Absolutely love the energy that you hold in repeating your, and what did you call it?
My statement of being. Is that what I've named it? Yeah.
Honestly, I absolutely loved it, and the clarity of it, and as well, just the thoughtfulness that you, like the energy and the thought that you put into it. Very powerful. Loved it. And of course, I love your stories always. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanchan.
Chris, that was fucking awesome. That was so good.
Thank you.
And I resonate so much with, like, I haven't achieved anything like what you've achieved, like not even scratching the surface, but the feelings, I resonate with those feelings. And what you said about, I'm not going to be an imposter anymore. I'm going to be me.
Yep.
That was the changing point for me in my life as well. That was the moment when I could get out of bed. That was the moment when I could have a shower and get dressed in the morning. And what struck me through everything that you said, your story of the record deal, of the hypnotherapy, of everything, like you felt like a fraud.
Yeah.
But you're a powerful manifester. You had an idea and it happened like that. You thought it and it became a thing. And that is a gift.
Thank you. Yeah, my statement of being, I realize works retroactively. And this is why I know it's my truth, because I can look back at all these moments in my life and all those statements are as true then as they are today.
I feel that. I feel that. Thank you so much for sharing. Truly inspiring.
Chris, I'd like to share something.
Please.
Today's my first day meeting you. So hello, my name is Nicolette. I was invited by Paula here.
Oh, beautiful.
And
the Pirate Radio Network.
I just want to say that listening to what you've shared today is inspirational in the sense that you've really taken charge of your life, and you have done some really courageous acts that a lot of people shy away from. What strikes me the most is the potential that everybody here watching and listening to you has that same capacity.
Yes.
And everybody that we work with and we choose to work with has that same capacity.
Yeah.
And it's really inspiring to hear somebody who, even through the, like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's beautiful. And it's great. I think all of us now have a little bit more fuel when we work with clients to share, but like, you know, he did a psychotherapy thing and then went on media right after. Like how powerful that is. That's really incredible. So you've inspired me and really helped to kind of solidify. I'm highly interested in developing personal power and taking ownership of your life. And so just hearing somebody who's made those choices is really cool. So thank you for sharing and putting this together today.
Thank you, Nicolette. It was a pleasure to meet you today. I really appreciate you coming and being part of this. Thank you.
Chris, can I just ask?
Yep.
I get that you get motivated by, you know, don't block me, I got this kind of thing. Like not block me, but like I'm going forward.
Yeah.
What was your hope out of doing what you did today? Like, I know you've said that, actually, I'm just going to stay quiet. What was your wish and your hope?
I came up with a new metaphor this week. I was imagining catching fireflies in a jar, something I've done as a child. I think most of us have had that experience. I remember being at my uncle's cottage in Quebec and catching fireflies and putting them in a jar. And I imagined that act. And then I thought about like what happens, or what would happen if another firefly kind of came into the jar and then just shone so brilliantly, like just like the sun, or like welding, like those white hot, light from welding. And the other fireflies are looking at it and they're like, holy shit, dude, like, what are you doing there? And he's just like, you can all do it. And then they did it. And then like, I just imagine the jar breaking. You are my fireflies. I feel good. Thank you for asking. I'm so grateful to everybody here today. Thank you.
This is a very,
I have a question.
Yes.
Because it's definitely
And
18-year
yeah, I'm feeling pretty clogged up as well. Thank you for being so raw. What's the other side of all the stories that you told? You wrote, you sent the tape to the magazine,
Yep.
You got the record deal, you sent the message to the TV show, you got on.
Yep.
What was when you sent that tape, when you're on the phone with the producer, when you're like, what's going on in your mind at that time? Like, you've created this thing out of nothing. And
when I think back to those moments, just as like, and to me, the genesis of this pirate radio thought, and that I'm going to do this thing. I don't want to wait a year to do a Brilliance broadcast next year. As part of 4PC, I'm going to do it now. It's such a true action for me. There's like no thinking. Like it just happens.
And so is there like any, like I'm thinking of like when I was like 19, I was teaching sailing in the south of France, and we went to this rock pool that had this like huge cliff, and there was like 3 places that you could jump off the cliff into the water, and like one was about 6 meters, one was like 3 meters, 6 meters, and then the top one was like 17 meters. It was like a big jump. And I remember I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to do it. And I'm up the top and I'm looking down and I'm going to do it. And I did it. But just at that moment when I jumped, it's like, holy fuck, what have I done? This is a disaster. I'm going to die. Oh, I didn't die. Great. That was really fun. Did you have that moment at all?
I did. I think every time there's a piece of that. This is why I have that metaphor of the gunslinger, because the gunslinger for me encompasses 3 feelings: a sense of power. I imagine slinging on that gun bell. A belief in myself that I am the best at what I do. In this case, it's just about being the best version of me. It's not even about me versus anybody, but just to be the best version of me. And then the third feeling is terror. And that's always present. And I do a check-in with it. And just before I hit submit this week on my pirate radio announcement post, I felt scared. It was there. But I have this metaphor now that I can do a check-in. There's a lot of what ifs in my head. What if I step on some toes? What if the source team gets upset? What if Rich doesn't like it? You know, all these things. And I realized I need to do this because doing anything less is not being true to myself. And if this blows up and doesn't, like, if for some reason they get upset, then this is, you know, ultimately not my group. Fortunately, it ended up being a very positive outcome. And that's I think that's the main thing. Most of the time it will be a positive outcome, but people give into the fear. So, you know, but you have to go and do it.
I don't know if anyone did Georgie's session before, but she brought up fear. The acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. And that hit me really hard. I was like, yeah, like what is ultimately the worst thing that can happen when you take the big risk? When it's not that bad. So you might as well just fucking go for it.
Sometimes, I think some people jump out of airplanes for that thrill. I do what I did today.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, that to me is a comparable thrill. Just leaning into that edge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's the same thing, right?
I believe it is.
Same set of feelings that go on in this meat suit that we carry around with us. It doesn't matter if you're jumping out of a plane or off a cliff or doing something that might come across bad. Yeah, so powerful. I'm so inspired right now.
Thank you.
I was going to say that I'm inspired to take a risk before the end of this time. I don't know what it is, but I'm making a commitment now. So you'll all be seeing it, or most of it.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. This is really impactful. So I'm just honored to be here. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Whew. There's such a release, you know, in me. I think just as if I had jumped out of the airplane, right? Like, and now I'm back on terra firma, and it's just such a relief, and that's euphoric, and I'm feeling it right now.
And as you say that you've just sort of you're feeling it, but you now have a new leveling field, don't you? Each time you bounce off on something else, and you have a different.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emboldened is the word, I think. Yeah.
That's a big fancy word for me. That's good. Very true.
Thank you. Any other comments today?
I'm drawn to the card that I got from Rich, or from the box that we got yesterday.
Yes.
Which,
I'm afraid I can't read that.
Most of the really exciting things we do in our lives scare us to death. They wouldn't be exciting if we didn't. That was the one that I pulled out this morning. It feels relevant. I feel like they're all relevant.
Renita, can I do a check-in with you? I'm very curious because you've been with me for a big part of this journey, and Renita invited me to share my statement of being for the very first time some months ago, and I wonder, Renita, I'm just curious to check in with you today about all of this.
I feel you so much more today. You are just owning all of it. Not just that, but there's like these extra layers to you that just are. I remember you sitting on the sofa in Toronto, and just who you are today. It's just like, wow, just wow. And I'm thrilled to be a firefly. Thrilled. It's inspiring, truly, of what's possible in such a short amount of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're good. I'm going to invite everyone after I disconnect here to take some time, do some journaling, see where this takes you. My ask of anyone watching this video is, if you haven't, I write a blog once a week. So if you go to chrisfrolic.com, join my email list, and you'll get these thoughts from me once a week. And then that's all I want to do is just share, my journey with people and share this, like whatever this is. So thank you, everybody.
So fun.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Love it.
All right. Ooh, that was good. Thank you.
Now we can all be fireflies.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chris.
please. You're welcome. Bye-bye.